Thank you. All right. Good morning, everybody. It is the morning of September 1st. Happy September to everybody. This is the regular, newly assigned time for the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Board of Commissioners. This is going to be our regular meeting. We will be starting to meet on the first Tuesday of every month, and we'll be at a 10 o'clock time so that more people can attend, and as our agendas, if they need to be, we have the capacity to go over an hour. So we will be doing that. So with that, Commissioner Hartung, being that you're back in the chambers with us, will you lead us in the pledge?
I'd be proud to do so. Please join me while we salute the greatest colors in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome back, Commissioner. All right. So with that, Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call?
Yes. Bob Lucy, Chair.
Here.
Marcia Burke-Bigler, Vice Chair.
Here.
Kitty Jung, via phone.
Present.
Von Hartung.
Here.
Jeannie Herman.
Here.
Fire Chief Charlie Moore.
Here.
Deputy District Attorney Mary Canderas. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We appreciate it. And we also want to welcome Miss Mary Canderas, our just Deputy District Attorney. She will be our new representation, so welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm looking forward to working with all of you in this capacity. I've had the chance before as the Washoe County Commissioners, and I've enjoyed it. And the county, I would like to tell you all, I think has very good public servants, and you protect this county very well. So I'm very pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate having you here with us. So, all right. With that, Madam Clerk, we will move to item 3. Mr. Chief, will you read us into public item 3, please?
Item 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. The district will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk, do we have any, has anybody submitted any public comment?
I have no emails or phone calls, and I
All right.
don't know about Zoom.
Do we have anybody on Zoom that has raised their hand or would like to offer any public comment at this time? All right, seeing no public comment. And we are still under the Emergency Directive 6 from the governor. The chambers are still closed, and we're still participating with the closed chambers at social distancing. Hopefully, next month, we will not have that, and we will have the chambers reopened for everybody to come and participate live. But this meeting, however, is just televised and on either Teams or Zoom at this time. All right, with that, we'll go to item 4. This is Fire Chiefs, Commissioners and Fire Chiefs announcements. Chief, do you have anything this morning?
I just wanted to bring to the attention of the board that the November meeting is actually on Election Day. So I'll be in touch with you to see if you want to continue to have the board meeting on Election Day in November, or if we want to push it off. I know we can't deliberate on it, but it did catch our eye, and if there's any potential conflicts with that,
You and I we'll confer about that at a later time and date. Anything else this morning?
No.
All right. Commissioners, I do have, Madam Vice Chair, I have you signed in first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to how our fire team is and how well they have worked. I always find it fascinating when we are working one side of a fire and California's working the other, and our guys get it surrounded, get it under control, and do such a fabulous job of protecting houses and everything that you do. And Chief, you are a great leader, and you have a wonderful team, and thank you for everything you do. I know lightning season is still with us and will be here for a while yet, so I know we could possibly see some more, but really, you guys have been fabulous through this whole crazy process of dealing with COVID and all the things that go with that, and dealing with all of the fires, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Commissioner Hartung, I have you signed in next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too took the words right out of my mouth, Vice Chair Burke-Bigler. It's I cannot begin to thank you guys enough for the hard work that you're doing, and this is just it's such a crazy time right now, everywhere. California seems to be on fire, and we've had our share, so thank you so much for all the hard work. One other thing, Chief, and sadly don't see Mr. Reed in the audience this morning, but I'd like you to follow up on the peer support group. There's a wonderful group out there called the Nevada Physicians Wellness Coalition, and it's for docs, ER docs and et cetera. It's exactly the same thing as our peer support, and they actually have a physicians and family resource line set up. And I'm wondering if we can somehow work in, because they're dealing with the same issues that we're dealing with. And I think that it's a really, really good way to kind of dovetail this into a regional effort. I'll give you their phone number afterwards. It's the resource line, but they may be able to give you more information. Again, Nevada Physician Wellness Coalition. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, with that, I have a few comments, very similar to those of the Vice Chair and Commissioner Hartung. It has been a while since we've met as a group here, and we've seen a number of fires, not only within our area, but also auto accidents. We've seen a number of issues that TM has had to respond to, especially in District 2, but across Washoe County as a whole, between the Loyalton fire, I think we've got resources down at the Slink fire. We've got, we had the Arrow Creek fire. Had it not been for TM's immediate response to the Arrow Creek fire, we would have lost homes. I mean, it's been continuous. You guys have been on 100% since the beginning of June, in my opinion, and if not earlier, but really June is when that lightning, we've seen these lightning complexes come through, and they're no joke. And it's just, whether it's 3 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, lightning seems to know no time. And your staff has been really ready. And I think we have some items later in the agenda to discuss equipment and staffing and the ability for you to continue to fight fires. And I want to make sure the commissioners take that into discussion and to heart that, the way you guys use that equipment is impressive and necessary. And I've seen you guys not only doing on wildland fires, but we had to use our ladder truck in July to help with the apartment complexes down off of Toll Road. And it was, had we not had that piece of equipment, that could have been very devastating, not only for Washoe County residents, but City of Reno residents as well. So I think you, not only have we been well-trained and ready for this stuff, but this has been tremendous. So I want to thank all the staff, the time you've put in. I know it's been a hard summer and difficult, but you guys have done a great job. And I can't tell you the amount of professionalism and time that you guys have done. So thank you. Appreciate it. All right, seeing nothing further from any of the commissioners, I will close item 4, bring it back. We are on to item 5. This is our consent agenda, Chief.
If there's any items that you'd like to pull, Mr. Chairman, we'll be certainly happy to present them in more detail.
Chief, I would like for you to, I don't think we're going to pull any items. I don't see anything to pull out of the consent this morning, but what I would like to discuss is have a little bit more clarification for the record in regards to item 5B and what we're trying to accomplish with 5B so that people understand the complexity and the benefit that we're going to do from making this, if we move forward with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not only a reclassification, but it really is a restructuring of the command structure. Chief Kulas has at least 15 people that report to him, and that's a span of control that's a little crazy for him. And the second goal is really to create some opportunities for our staff to promote up and prepare them for a successorship once my career is over, and start to get them into chief's positions where they learn not only the administration, but the training piece, the logistics piece, the wildfire piece, EMS piece of it, So we're creating 4 division chiefs, one for EMS, administrative services, and an operations division chief that will really have the battalion chiefs under him. The battalion chiefs right now report to the deputy chief, and with 6 of them and everybody else, that's really where I think Alex is a bit swamped. So within those 4 positions, obviously, we can start to build their skill sets to be able to take over the leadership of the district when the time comes. So there's really 2 goals in this. One is to create a new classification, but more importantly, it's to restructure our command staff so that's more in line with a proper span of control, excuse me.
All right, thanks, Chief. And Commissioner Jung does have has a statement, so I want to go to Commissioner Jung first. A question from Commissioner Jung.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree, Mr. Fire Chief, and this is something that we're doing countywide. I don't know if you pay attention to our actual board of county commissioners meeting, but it is crucial with the baby boomers reaching retirement age that we start, cross-training people in all kinds of different positions, because not only are you a silver tsunami, you're also going to be a silver abandonment of the whole county when the boomers do retire. And that is a #1 goal, is this legacy planning for me as a commissioner, as it was over at the Board of Health when I was the chair of that. So I commend you deeply for that, and I absolutely encourage the reduction of span of control, because I have noticed with Chief Deputy Cupulis, sometimes I get texts from him at weird hours and think, dude, where are you? He's all over the place. And, we can only work somebody that hard so long before they can't do it anymore. And Mr. Fire Chief, I also wanted to compliment and commend you and the Board of Fire, well before this Board of Fire was the Board of Fire, for you being our selection of fire chief, because it is no coincidence. It's cause and effect that you coming from where you did in Colorado, which does experience extreme weather fire, but also understands how important it is to save structures and to be on top of wildland fire. You're already ready to go in that area. So absolutely approve that consent item, and I am glad that you're thinking about that. And I know it's extra work at the outset, but I think you've seen with the deputy chief too, you were spreading yourself way too thin as well. So absolutely, if we have the financial write-off on it, or you want us to figure out other cuts, I'm completely on board with that. And I love the idea to grow the staff from within. A fire station is like when we hired our own mechanics. The team gets a groove and a knowledge of each other to live with each other for 3 days on or 4 days on. So I think that's a great idea. It's forward thinking. It's exactly where we need to be as a county. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. Appreciate that. Commissioner Hartime.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I agree with Commissioner Jung. And on item B, I also wanted to mention item D. Those were the 2 that I had starred. Great succession planning, Chief. I mean, it's a great idea, and it actually helps to spread the load, which is extremely important. It's why diesel trucks have so many tires. It's there for a reason. It spreads the load, and this is I obviously jest in that example, but that's the whole purpose of this. And I think that when you have one person and you have too many point of contacts that person has to deal with, it gets to be an overload. So well done. Item D, Chief, I just wanted to recognize this is a great example of community partnership, where we're not just sort of getting rid of these things and they're going out of the area. This is staying right here in the area, and it's going to serve us. It's going to continue to serve us. So I'm appreciative of this, and I think it's a great gesture on the part of TM, and I think that there's more to come on both sides, where both agencies can really benefit from one another. So I'm thankful for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. So with that, I think we've made I think we've pointed out that the chief and staff have done a phenomenal job in reclassifying and really making it an efficient agency. So with that, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hartung, second from the Vice Chair Burkbigler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chair, there was no public comment on that for the record.
Thank you, Madam. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. So with all commissioners voting in the affirmative, the motion carries, consent agenda carries unanimously with no opposition. We did have no public comment signed in for that item, and we are on to, out of our consent and onto our regular thing. So this is our fire chief's report. Chief.
Fire Chief's report is an informational briefing on operational matters and activities for the month of August and September 2020. With the addition of our fuels crew, we're just on the cusp of our green waste program, and so I have some very good news to report to you. I think you'll be very pleased to hear that now that we have 10 dedicated people to fuels, we're going to assign them to our green waste program on weekends, likely every weekend in October and possibly November. And the following communities we're going to set up. We don't have a lot of details yet. We're working on this, but we have at least identified the communities where we want to hold the events, and that will be at East Washoe Valley, which is what we've done before, for the greater Galena area on Toll Road, in Collin Ranch, one in Verdi, one on Silver Lake, which we've done before, one event in Palomino Valley, one event in Sun Valley, and believe we're also doing Spanish Springs in conjunction with that. I don't know if those two will be combined or if they'll be separate collection events. And if we can, we'll do another one in Lemon Valley, which we've done. But the way we disposed of the green waste last year, because our trucking costs were so high, is we actually burned the piles, but I think our citizens have seen enough smoke this summer. So I think we have solved the trucking problem, which is the reason why we went to burning. That the trucking costs, taking the green waste down to the recycler, was excessive. But now that we have 2 semi-trucks and we have the ability to haul quite a bit down with just the staff time, I think we're going to look at chipping, masticating, and taking it to the green waste recycler again. And we don't think it's going to cost a lot of money, particularly when NV Energy has said that they'd like to be a 50% funding partner in the program. So we thank NV Energy very much for reaching out to help us with the green waste program. So we think that instead of burning, we'll chip it and truck it. And I know Mr. Mayberry will be sending out via the media the exact locations of our events, but we're going to go big on this event in the fall. So with that, we'd like to review our recent wildfires with you, and if we could put up the incident map while Chief Kukulis comes to the podium. But you can see why Nevada is so smoky right now is that most of the fires burning in California to the north of us, and Oregon and Washington to the south of us in Arizona. I mean, unless the wind is blowing just right, there's no way to escape the smoke infiltration. I did hear on the news that our smoke will be returning later this week, unfortunately, so enjoy the relatively clear air today, but unfortunately it's going to come back. But you can see the scale of wildfires throughout our adjacent states, and even just in Nevada, we want to explain our big events. And thank you for your comments about staff's work. I have to tell you that everybody has been providing the maximum amount of effort, whether it's been fighting the fire themselves or when we've provided mutual aid, staff has come back to backfill our stations so we can provide that mutual aid and not see a lapse in staffing our stations. And I have to tell you, the staff and firefighters have worked very, very hard this summer. And my hat's off to Chief Kukulis for his efforts, because he has been working around the clock, it seems, on weekends, as well as everybody. But I'm very, very proud of this department and its response this summer. So with that, Alex, I'll let you review some of the big fires that we've had.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, for the record, Alex Kukulis, Deputy Chief, Truckee Meadows Fire. I think we got the PowerPoint
Can we,
working on it.
there we go.
All right, so it's season 2020, but I should mention we're obviously not done with season 2020, so this is sort of our year-to-date update. Let's see, I think I can control this. All right, so I just have a few numbers, a couple minutes of videos, and then I'll answer any questions you have. But this is kind of what we're looking at so far year-to-date. So 134 wildland fires within the district. That's breaking out to about 1.5 a day. About 15,000 personnel hours committed to wildland fires and over 10,000 acres burned. 4 federal FMAGs, that's more than we've ever had in any one year. Those are those presidential declarations of disaster. So there's some reimbursements and future grant opportunities that come along with those. I talked to Chris Smallcomb, our friend up at the Weather Service, and we've had 21 red flag warnings year to date. And as you can see, 14 is the average for the last 10 years. So we're a third more than usual. And again, looking at triple digit temperatures this upcoming weekend, so there's probably more to come. And then numerous personnel and mutual aid assignments. We've had a fortunate break, as busy as our own fire season was in district. About the last 10 days, we've seen that taper off somewhat. I don't think that's necessarily a trend, but just a fortunate break. Because of that, we've had the opportunity to repay some of the mutual aid that we've received in the previous couple months. Up until this last weekend, I think we had 22 personnel out on assignments, which is about a fifth of our operational workforce. Currently, as of today, I think the count was 17. We had to send some more down to that Slink fire down by Walker and Colville last night, code 3, urgent needs. So between that and some of our team assignments, people are still scattered around the country, some in Colorado and California as well. So, can you help me go back? There we go. Just a quick little graph here. So we are trending above average. If we look at the last 3 years, we were about 120 and then down to about 114, I think it was in 2019. We're about 135 fires in district again this season. So if that trajectory keeps going that way, we'll definitely have a record season probably in district. Let's see if this plays. Yeah, help me out here. So this is some footage off my dash cam actually, but of the Loyalton fire. There's a few pieces here patched together, but this is on Highway 395 looking southbound near the border town exit. Just to give you an idea of the volatility of some of the fires we've had this year. We did even end up evacuating Silver Knolls community because that fire jumped all 4 lanes of 395, including the median. We got lucky with our dozers and some other fortunate events that helped us in keeping that. This is some footage of people evacuating that area just north of that agricultural station. Some of this, another different clip of this made it on National Fox News actually, but we were fortunate to get everybody out of here. They got kind of trapped and cut off on 395 and the fire jumped the road actually on both sides of those people. So we didn't have anywhere to evacuate them. So we kind of put them all in a corner right there and our crews were fortunately able to kind of protect them with the engine while the fire front passed. So again, everyone and all the animals, I know the horses are in there. I've been asked more about the horses than anything else. They all fared well, so. Can you take me to the next one? Sorry, my controls are limited here. This is the North Fire out near Red Rock Rancho Haven area. Just to give you an idea, this is again that fire. We were making good progress throughout the day. This is, as you can see, almost 11 o'clock at night there on the timestamp. This thing was burning erratically all the way through sunrise at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we had the fire in check with some dozer line and some crews working on it, and little thunder cell passed over and pushed this thing out. We had some good news footage on this particular fire. I'm amazed. Again, it's just kudos to all the crews and their good work, but we didn't lose a single residence on this fire, even though several hundred were immediately threatened. The crews were basically leapfrogging each other with the limited resources we were able to get out there. The fortunate thing there is that the community was really well prepared, had some good defensible space for us to work off of. And we had a little bit of lead time to be able to bring the resources in from our mutual aid partners to get them in place as the fire came over the hill. That fire, the North Fire, started very similarly to what we were looking at the Loyalton fire, where it started along 395 in 3 different spots, jumped the highway, and then ran all the way across the flats and up and over the Peterson Range. So take me to the next. think this will square away on us. And then this is the W5 fire out way north of Gerlach off Highway 447. These are our crews. I went out there with them the weekend before last. You can see them starting some backfires right there and doing some burning. They've made quite a name for themselves. Actually, it was just me and our one engine there, and that was 4 personnel. And we burned off about 6 miles of highway on 447. And they were successful, held the fire, basically pushed it back into California, and that's where it remains. That fire is currently, last check I checked, about 81,000 acres. Most of that on the California side, and we hope it stays over there. But that crew is still actually assigned up there. I think they're on day 9 or 10 right now. Probably be getting them back at the end of this week. Next. This is just about it. This was picture on the left there is just some of the aircraft. That was that rock farm fire, the one Commissioner Lucy was mentioning near the Arrow Creek and Saddlehorn community. So our aviation assets have been a huge help. We are able to bring in the big guns there, the big airliner up top there. Comes out of McClellan Air Force Base, but as well as our NDF helicopters and other local resources out of Stead and Minden. So couldn't have done it without them. And then on the right there, those are our 2 dozers. So if you guys may recall, Truckee Meadows invested in a new dozer program. We picked those assets up last year, but really we haven't unveiled the program until this year. So it's still in its infancy. We're training a lot of our personnel. They've had some opportunities to get on a lot of fires this year. They're growing and improving, but realistically, I don't know if we would have had the same outcome on some of these fires if it weren't for having those 2 tools at our disposal too, because even despite the whatever it is, 12-foot wide dozer line, we've had fires blowing across them, but it has helped us hold things, generally speaking. I think realistically that's it. We had 6 large fires on top of all those stats that I told you about, and that's just usually most seasons we'll see a couple, but yeah, it's been busy. So hats off to all the guys and girls out there. They've been doing a tremendous job, and they still are. So we'll hang in there. We got another month or 2 left of this, and we're doing snow dances. We'll see what happens. Questions?
Well, thank you, Chief. We appreciate it. It sounds like you've got a little bit of fire voice yourself from too much smoke inhalation from all the work you've done this summer. So, no, like I said, I watched Chief Kukos be out there on the rock farm fire and watch him command that, and that was pretty impressive. And I know that wasn't the only farm fire that he was on this year. So, I mean, I know he's physically been on every fire that we've been working. So that's been pretty impressive between Chief and staff and everybody. You guys have been out there on the front lines, which is impressive. So I do have a question though, in regards to, you had a quick presentation in regards to our dozer program. Do we pay for our own transport with that? Do we have our own transport, or our own flatbeds and semis, or do we contract that out with private?
Each one of those dozers is its own package with the tractor and trailer.
Okay.
So it's 3 pieces of equipment that come along
Where-
with each.
Where are those pieces of equipment usually stored?
We store one north and south. So generally speaking, there's one at Station 46 in Spanish Springs, and the other one is Station 30 down in Washoe Valley. And we do move them around sometimes based on where the fire activity is at and pre-position them on some of the red flag days. The dozer, can't really tell it's red, on the right there, we picked up as federal excess property, so we have title and ownership of that. The other one is on agreement with NDF, so they've effectively loaned us that for an indefinite period of time.
Gotcha. Great. All right. Any comments from the other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and Chief, can't say enough. Thank you. Earlier this year, you guys stopped a fire in Spanish Springs. I think, did you name it the Calle de la Plata fire, I think?
Cello
was it the La
fire, I
Posada?
think is the
What
one
is
you're
it?
talking about. Cello?
The Cello?
I think so. If it's the same one, we've had so many.
CIELO.
I'm sorry?
CIELO.
CIO, is that the name of the street up there? Yeah, because I thought they were calling it the Kaya fire. Okay, my bad, but it was right up above our house. You guys got on it immediately, and Chief Shum was there, and great amount of resources put out immediately. I mean, airstrikes coming in, and I mean, it was very, very impressive how quick you guys put it down. So I haven't had an opportunity to thank you, but I think, Commission, this demonstrates that the investments that we have voted on are good investments, and that money has been well spent.
I agree.
Yeah, and you
thank you.
see, Chief Eisernagen's here. He's been a huge pickup for us this year. It started with us in May, and I wouldn't have wanted to do this fire season without him and the new fuel squads. I mean, they've been a tremendous asset for us to be able to have them come help us with IA, and then be able to hand the fires off to them to kind of stay on them as we're mopping up and free those resources back up to get back to the stations and all the other things that we have to do.
And,
So,
and by the way, you haven't lived until you've seen that aircraft come in as low as it comes and as slow as it comes and drops its load. Holy mackerel, that's just it's a sight to behold. It really is. God bless those pilots.
I think Commissioner Lucy was right under that one when that was happening. We were watching it.
That was a
wobble
little,
together.
that was a dodgy day. I was a little worried a couple times.
Did you come home orange?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair?
almost. Luckily,
Yeah.
Alex was standing in front of me, so I wouldn't have let that
Yeah,
happen.
I happened to be up on the hill in Spanish Springs when it flew by, and oh my goodness, it's really amazing how precise they are with such a big aircraft.
Yeah. Great, thank you. We really do appreciate it. Thanks for all your work and time and effort that you and the staff put in this season, so. And like you said, it's not over, and we need people to understand that it isn't over, and we still have some solid months of not only dry weather, but hot weather in front of us. And being that it's hunting season, people are out using ATVs and using their firearms, and it can be a challenge, you know. So we've all got to be fire smart and fire safe out there. It can happen to any of us. So just be cautious of that. These guys put in a lot of time, a lot of hours away from their families, and sacrifice a lot of things to make sure that our community stays safe. So let's help them out the best way that we can. So thanks, Chief. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, if I could take A2 and A3 together, and if I may ask the clerk to give you a handout.
The
Sure.
handouts have been distributed to the board and placed on file on record.
All right, and this is in regards to the general fund update.
General fund update, a discussion on the second bond facility and capital projects update, and a little bit about our financial position. So staff is contemplating asking for a second bond in the, perhaps the next fiscal year. Cindy, if you want to come up and help me, for the purpose of building the consolidated station in Washoe Valley and purchasing the headquarters building that we have under lease right now at 3663 Barron Way, and perhaps adding some training props, and we may even need just a little bit more office space for our training division. So that is on the radar for us, and want to make sure that the board's comfortable in the way that we're proceeding here. Obviously, there's more to bring back to the board, but I think when Cindy explains our financial position, you'll be very, very comfortable with staff moving forward on a second bond request. Also on Station 37, I want to mention that because we bought the new house, we'll be going back to the Citizens Advisory Board to explain the new configuration of that station now that we have the house purchased on the corner. So we see that architecture being developed soon after the Board of Adjustments says yes, if they say yes, and we'll start the design development and construction drawings on Hidden Valley, and at the same time, we'd like to start the planning for the consolidated station in Washoe Valley, because we need to have some design done so we know exactly how much that station potentially going to cost, and some of the improvements at headquarters, how much that would cost, so we know how much the bond should be. So we'll be spending a little bit of money in perhaps after the calendar year to do that. But I'll let Ms. Vance explain a little bit about our financial position, and it looks good. And then Commissioner Jung had asked for a little bit of explanation on what budget adjustments should we make in the event that the economy's needle turns to the left. And so after Ms. Vance explains our financial position, I'll give you a couple of thoughts on item 3.
Great, Ms. Vance.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Vance, Chief Fiscal Officer for the district. This will actually be, we are getting ready to bring in October next month the second bond, which is the 2.1 million. So we did issue, well, medium-term debt for the equipment last year, and we're getting ready to do the 2.1, which will do part of the planning phases, reimburse ourselves for the house in Washoe Valley, and that is going out to RFP this week, and then we'll bring back on in October the proposals for approval.
Great.
Okay. And then again, looking at the bond for the properties. It's the general fund, just to give you a fiscal update, we are still in the closing process, but most of everything is closed. There may be some small changes before we get to the issued audited financial statements. But we did just receive on Friday our final CTX payment, which was $897.9 thousand, which was the highest payment all year. We're all surprised, we're all glad of that, but in the end, our year-to-date revenues are just over 32 million, so they are over the fiscal year 20 budget, and they are over the estimated revenues used for the fiscal 21 budget. So we look like we're going to, currently, we're looking ahead of our ending fund balance being larger than we thought to start the fiscal 21 year. Expenses are about 29.9 million currently. That's where I do expect a few little changes as we close the books, but nothing significant, which is under the fiscal 20 budget and also under, again, the anticipated estimated amount for the fiscal 21 budget. So currently, we're sitting at about a net revenues over expenses of about 1.4 million. And we had originally budgeted about 1.4 under decrease in ending fund balances, and we anticipated about $500,000 ending for the fiscal 21 budget. So that difference of the 1.3 increase versus the $500,000 decrease between actual versus the estimated for the current first fiscal year 21 budget will allow us to do any augmentations for fiscal year 21 if necessary. Okay. Some of the other things.
Ms. Vance, really
Yes.
quick. So you're looking technically at a delta of 1.9 million, is that correct?
Yes,
Going into fiscal year 2021?
correct.
I have a follow-up as well, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner John, go ahead.
Thank you. What's CTX?
Oh, consolidated taxes, that's
I
several
know what
different sales
consolidated
taxes.
I've never heard anything call it that. And so, can you tell me by how much percentage of the overall budget we are over?
We're over about 3.7% in revenues, and our expenses are at about 96% of budget.
So 7.7% basically of a, what do we call that, a bonus, found money or efficiency in government. So, okay, continue. Can you tell me what the overall, this is what I'm getting at. Why are we only going for 2.1, only our second bond? Is there a strategy in this? Should we be going for more? Are they worth it today, selling? What's been the rate for the last 5 years? I'm just wondering the strategy behind this. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, originally for the 2.1, there's a long process for issuing long-term debt.
Sure.
So we went to the debt commission. So that had already started last year, and we hadn't really done the contemplation of buying the property because we started even before I think we signed our lease when we looked at different financing options for the Washoe Valley. And so that was for the Washoe Valley and purchase of property and the refurbish of 37. So we are moving forward. We have been working with our bond counsel and discussing the larger debt issuance for both the building of the Washoe Valley and possible purchase of our administration building.
Okay.
So that will start to,
Okay, that's okay. That's
Okay.
good. Thank you for that, Ms. Vance. Those are just the questions I had from what you've presented so far. But I think you can hear where I'm kind of going with this. And I know you're already thinking about that because you're a subject matter expert, and I think you've done a fabulous job.
Thank you.
So just know that I'm open to more rather than less, considering, if the time is right. But you know better. You're the subject matter expert, and your bond counsel knows all that. But I want you to know that I'm a big believer in making hay while the sun shines. So, and I'm sure you are too. You're 5 years ahead of me. So just go ahead and just know that, and thank you so far for what you've reported. And I think we should have a party since we have all this extra money, yeah?
As long as it's donated from outside. Just kidding.
Okay, no more questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jung. Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Vance, I agree with Commissioner Jung. Bond rates are at all-time lows right now. I mean, now's the time. Election cycles are very interesting when it comes to the financial markets, and so this is a good time to be doing this. Are these bonds coming from the state revolving fund?
They are not.
Okay. Okay. Where are we going? Are we just going outside?
Correct. We're going a public RFP.
Okay, just straight muni bonds?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, next month, we will be able to bring that in with our bond counsel. We'll ask him to attend via Zoom so he can answer also more detailed questions on the bond.
Was there any opportunity to use the state revolving fund?
I'm not aware of that,
Because
so
I know
yeah, exactly.
historically, those can be even better rates than going to the open market. I mean, that's what we've done in Washoe County.
Correct. I'll look further into that and I can let you know.
I'd like that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Ms. Vance, do you have anything else further?
We just wanted to say, because we are looking at the bond financing for Washoe Valley and the delta between the cost of the financing versus the employees. If we consolidate that station and move to a four-person crew, it is about $600,000 in salary savings over the cost of the financing for the estimated financing for the building at a $5 million cost. And that those extra personnel, if necessary, can be saved or can be moved. If the revenues continue to stay high, we can move those extra resources to the north where they're needed. But it does provide an option to hold out moving those resources and save the costs.
Great, fantastic. Chief?
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, therein lies our plan in the event that the economy starts to deteriorate, that building the Washoe Valley Consolidated Station could potentially allow us to have employee attrition to the number of 6 positions and not affect any of our station staffing, because you may recall that we have 18 employees to staff Bowers and Eastlake. With the consolidated station, we would drop to 12, and then we'd have 6 positions that could be, either we could be reassigned to the north, which is the plan, or they could just be left vacant if the economy were to require that we start to cut costs. Obviously, there's lots of places that we could cut costs, but therein lies, the opportunity between $600,000 and $700,000 of savings without having to do anything really.
All right, Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Chief, when we move those resources to the north, and I'm assuming we're talking about Lemon Valley and those areas, where would we house them? Do we have enough space at the Lemon Valley Volunteer Station, or are we going to have to rehab that station as well?
Well, you may recall from the deployment plan that if we have 6 additional employees coming from the Southern District to deploy to the north, the initial plan was to put a 2-person rescue at Sun Valley in the short term.
Okay.
And then we could either add a station to Silver Lake and Lemon Valley.
Great.
Or now my staff has actually suggested here's an alternative. So we could put 1 station near the Stead Airport to serve Golden Valley and Silver Lake, and then build the station at Apple.
Okay.
So correct me, Mary, if I get too far off the beaten path here.
No, and
But,
make sure that you put on the record, the station at Apple is a free one.
It is, yes.
That's a term that we negotiated with Apple, and I'm not letting go of that, Chief. I don't want their money, I want that resource.
So those will be options for the board to consider, and I'm thinking that I may want to bring a consultant in to look at both of those options for us, and along with some other planning issues that we have.
And-
Staff is just so busy that
No, understood.
it's hard for us to get our head around.
And
a
by the
lot
way,
of
my
these
suggestion is not that we staff the Apple station. I want that resource, and when it's on the ground, it's gonna cost us a lot more to build in the future, so that's why I want that piece of infrastructure. But we do need more coverage in the North Valleys, we need it. There's some gaps there, and I love the plan, Chief, I think it's a great plan.
Well, as you saw, that all of our major wildfires were north in the Northern Battalion, not so many in the south. And again, that reiterates staff's observations over time, is that we need to rebalance the crew size and the numbers of apparatus stations and firefighters to the north.
And last comment, Chief, I want to thank you for the trying to move forward with the rescue. I just think, a rescue, especially at Station 45, that could serve, Spanish Springs in that area as well as Sun Valley. I mean, it's just a good use of resources, in my opinion. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. All right. Seeing nothing further, Chief, thank you, Ms. Vance, we appreciate it. Thank you for the presentation this morning.
Item
Can I
4,
ask a question quick?
Yes, Commissioner Jung.
Don't kill me.
No.
I also want to just put on the record flexibility for the fire chief. I'm glad that you didn't have a meeting last month. I think when you are so stretched to your extremes of your resources, if legally you can do it and there's nothing pressing, I think we have to be really, and by the way, I think it's great that you have your own day and your own time, and then we're not time constrained. But I think that needs to be something that the chair, the vice chair, and the chief talk about. Again, I'm trying to really get to a point with government that we are quicker to respond and more flexible so that we can actually serve the citizens in whatever the context of the need is. So, Mr. Fire Chief, just please discuss that with your chair and vice chair. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not the boss of that. But I think that was very wise, whoever decided to do that, because I know it takes a lot of resources even coming before us with your staff. So I just want to put that on the record. The flexibility is so important to me, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. All right, Chief.
Item 4 is we'd like to demonstrate our new website, and Adam Mayberry will drive the controls. We'd just like to show it off just briefly. Very, very proud of it. It's been a lot of work, and we hope it will provide the public with a lot more information in the coming months.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Chief Moore, thank you very much for having us. Adam Mayberry, your Communications Manager for the Fire District. And as Chief Moore announced, we just want to quickly highlight the district's new website. Jeffrey in the back has agreed to kind of drive this for me. I don't have the controls up here, but we'll just
Hey,
kind of
Adam.
summarize.
Adam?
Yes.
Scoot closer to the
Get
mic.
closer?
sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
there
you.
you go, bud.
Thank you. So Jeffrey in the back will help me drive our website. We launched this earlier in August, and again, appreciate the board allocating funds for this earlier this year. We had a little bit of a delayed start with COVID and some of the fires, but we are up and running now. The goal here really was to differentiate our fire agency from others, also to provide more information in an easier to read format. We appreciate the partnership with Washoe County over the years. Our URL is still tmfpd.us. On the county website, there should be, and I'll revisit this today, but there should be a link that will drive the user to this new website. I understand Commissioner John may have had some challenges getting the agenda today, so I apologize for that. We'll take a look at that. But they are linked in that regard. Just want to start with the main navigation bar up there. We'll look at the board. We have a page for the board. We have agendas going back to 1999, include all the minutes. The fire prevention page is something fairly new for us, far more comprehensive information on there in terms of public education, how to stay safe, how to create defensible space, how to create a to-go kit. We also have our fire codes and fire regulations more easily accessible in the fire prevention component. Of course, that's under Deputy Chief Way. Then our emergency operations, which is Deputy Chief Kukulis's bandwidth, essentially helps us tell our story. This is something we didn't have an opportunity to do on the older website. Either we have, not only do we do fire suppression, as you know, but we have the hazmat team, we have a water entry team of technical rescues, we have our new wildland fuels division, of course our EMS component, training, the Air Academy, or the Fire Academy rather. So a lot of good information to help us tell our story and raise our awareness. The Human Resources tab is another frequently used tab that people are interested in looking at, whether they want to become a volunteer firefighter. Very transparent in terms of highlighting the benefits, the pay, all of our various positions and ranks within the fire district. Resources is kind of a catch-all. That's where we have some interactive forums that you can go to if you want to do a ride-along, if you want a public education event at a school. Once we get past this pandemic and start allowing that opportunity, you can very simply go to our website and request those particular activities. We have some key links to the county's website, to the peer support network that Commissioner Hartung referred to earlier, a couple other very important websites in a regional fire area. Here is the Nevada Fire Info, as well as Living with Fire. And most importantly, on the far left, we have, again, becoming transparent with all of our fiscal documents, our budgets, our financial statements. We have a newsroom as well. And then on the far right, again, another component, brand new component, is our history. There's a lot of pride in the history of Truckee Meadows Fire. We'll celebrate our golden anniversary here in 2022. So there's a timeline with some old pictures, and that's a work in progress as well. If you scroll to the, Jeffrey's kind of taking it down to the timeline, and if you go back to the top of the page, you'll see the Contact Us, top right, and that provides all the key contacts primarily at the administrative level. I also want to point out the very bottom, you see the Espanol tab. So you click on that, and every page will be translated into Spanish. So there's that piece too. That's pretty important, given that about 25% of our constituents are Spanish speaking. And then just generally going down the home page, there's some other additional resources, whether if you want to, who we are, and whether if you want to, some forums and guidelines. There's a wildfire terminology guide or a community report, just a host of information that's really in a far more easy to access. On the front page, you can sign up for Code Red as well. That's administered by the county's emergency management staff. So that's a really quick overview of the new website. Appreciate all of our team, Truckee Meadows, for providing a lot of content, a lot of good information, something we're really proud of, and we can always build on it. And happy to take any questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any questions on the website?
Thank you.
I have a suggestion.
Okay, Commissioner Jung.
Thank you, Mr. Adam Mayberry. I appreciate all this information. Is there anywhere you could highlight on your website that every engine that rolls has a paramedic on it? If that's still the case, it might not be still the case for the staffing stuff, but I would like to highlight how much the board has invested in life savings and protection vis-a-vis advanced medicine on whatever if it's 100% or 90% or strategically placed, however you want to say it, that needs to be distinguished about us. We invested a lot of money in that.
Absolutely, Commissioners. Thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. Also want to point out, too, that every photo on there is genuine and authentic to our fire crews, our fire prevention officers, our administrative staff, our fire events. So it is authentic photos for your fire district.
That's fantastic. All right.
Okay.
Chief?
Thank you, Adam. I'm ready for item B, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayberry. We appreciate it. Great work.
Item B is the Commissioner dashboard. We're making slow progress, but still making some progress. Hopefully when wildfire season starts to diminish, we can get more momentum. I do believe that we'll have BLM come and talk to us in October or November about the shooting range. The county is going to have to be involved in this solution as well if we identify a new site for that, and Commissioner Herman advised me that perhaps there's some discussions with county already on that, so we'll need to circle back with our partners at the county. So unless there's any particular questions on the dashboard, I'll let it stand, but
Any questions specifically for Chief in regards to the dashboard, the monthly dashboard as presented in the packet? All right, seeing no questions, all right, we will move on. Chief, we will close, actually, Madam Vice Chair, do you have a block vote for us this morning? It's for discussion only, so we don't have to, so.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a block vote. I would make a motion that we put number 7, number 8, and number 10 into a block vote.
Okay, and is that in the form of a motion, Madam Chair? Yes. Okay, I have a motion and a second on a block vote for items 7, 8, and 10 this morning. Madam Vice Chair Burke Bigler made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Hartung. Chief, will you read those items into the record, please?
certainly item 7 is a recommendation to retroactively approve the purchase of one new all-poly 3,000-gallon tanker pumper from Midwest Fire of Laverne, Minnesota, in the amount of $260,768, using the emergency purchase provisions of NRS 332.112 and utilizing the district's emergency fund in accordance with NRS 474.510. Item 8 is a recommendation to approve the purchase of 20 self-contained breathing apparatus and associated equipment from MES in the amount of $234,194.25. And item 10 is a recommendation to approve a 3-year master services agreement between Rebound LLC and Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District effective September 1st, 2020, for the purpose of managing employees' work-related orthopedic injuries and reducing injury-related costs in the amount of $45,133 for the first year, $47,390 for the second year, and $49,757 for the third year. The total amount of the contract is $142,280.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion on any of these items or questions by the commission? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on any of those 3 items?
I have nobody signed in, and on Zoom,
On Zoom, do we have anybody? All right, seeing none. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all commissioners voting. Please affirm your votes on the screen. All right, Chief. With that, that takes us to item 9.
Item 9 is a recommendation to approve 5 positions for one squad boss with a salary range of $54,184 to $70,012 with regular Nevada Public Employees Retirement System, NVPERS, and 4 crew members with a salary of $41,995 to $54,496 with regular NVPERS, which will add a 3rd squad to the fuels reduction program. This item is, again, NV Energy funded. They'd like to add a 3rd squad to our mix of the fuels crew. We have not yet hired these people, but this gives the the staff authority to proceed with this. And subsequent to your approval of this, we'll be bringing back a contract amendment. But this would allow staff to start at least recruiting and testing for those positions.
Great. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hartung.
so moved.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Hartung, second from Vice Chair Burkbigler. Any further discussion or questions in regards to this item from any of the commissioners? I see none on mine. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
There's nobody signed in.
Nobody, we have anybody on Zoom wishing to speak? All right, seeing nobody on Zoom wishing to speak, we'll bring this back to the board. I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all commissioners voting. Please affirm your votes on the screen. All right. With that, Chief, we are into item 11.
Item 11 is Commissioners, Fire Chiefs announcements, requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements relating to items not on the agenda.
Chief, do you have anything that you want to, that we didn't cover this, and you want to bring up?
I do not, Mr. Chairman. Thank
All
you.
right. Commissioners? Seeing none?
I have something.
Okay, Commissioner Jung.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, it's okay.
Mr. Fire Chief, thank you. Mr. Fire Chief, I have received numerous emails and phone calls, and I know it's not under your jurisdiction, but it's probably it does affect our jurisdiction. I get a lot of it here locally in Reno, but I also hear it out on the freeways and stuff, and I've actually personally witnessed it too. And that is people driving like their car is on fire and having races. And I know people are bored, I get it, but it is almost lawless at this point. And I'm wondering, do we cooperate with you as a fire chief? Do you have regular meetings, or should we as a commission, with the different jurisdictions that we have the responsibility to respond to, about a better way of patrolling or reporting or stationing to prevent mass casualties that then we get pulled off fires to attend to? Because it appears, I don't know if it's just my perception or reality, but it appears that people think that they can race their cars and nobody will do anything about it. Have you heard anything like that too, or is this just where I'm living?
Madam DA, I think I can discuss.
Sorry, can you follow up with me, or follow up, or tell me, what we could do as a region to kind of help self-police everybody while everybody is so stretched, so thin?
Yeah, Commissioner Jung, and I think what we'll do is we'll have Chief follow up with you, because I kind of had the same question, and I think as it pertains to Truckee Meadows Fire and Rescue, this has a massive impact on our roads in regards to if there are, these types of mass casualties, how not only having our crews having to respond in the unincorporated area, but it does take away from the ability for them to serve at their true capacity, which is fire protection. So if we could have that greater discussion, not only with you, but maybe in concert with the sheriff as well, to talk about maybe a joint task force or some sort of response. So if we could get that for Commissioner Jung and also myself, I specifically, and all the commissioners received emails from a constituent of mine in regards to Mount Rose Highway, them utilizing that as a drag race track up and down Mount Rose Highway, which we have to respond to. We had one just the other night on Friday night, or Thursday night, with Porsche and high excess speeds, and I think we've seen a lot of drinking and driving as well increase in over the last during the COVID, and so I think those are discussions that we bring up. So, Commissioner Jung, does that work for you as well?
Yes, thank you so much. I didn't mean to step on your district, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Because I've gotten this up and down the valley from people, and as I said, I've also experienced it. Now that could be my perception because I'm primed, right? But I think that, we had a former employee in a race car accident that killed himself and his passenger just months after his retirement. So we know it's at an epidemic proportion. And I'm not saying I blame people for this. I'm just saying I don't have the resources to respond to this.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't look at it as you stepping into my district. I think that this is, like you said, I think this is a district-wide issue, and I think it's something that we need to address going forward, because those are dollars that are coming out of our revenues to pay for that, so. Vice Chair Burke-Biegler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just recalled that I was supposed to bring up the fact that at the Health Board meeting, there were some questions from some of our members about some of our employees about the issues going on between RIMSA, and I know the chief is working on it, but I wanted, for the record, to make sure that that it's clear to RIMSA that we can't pull trucks off the line to, handle the fact that they're not hiring the type of paramedic employees that they need to employ. And so that is a big concern for me, and I want to make sure that we are not taking the chance of, that our constituents are not getting the care they need way out in the North Valleys in Gene's district, as well as in Bob's district, which is way south. And I think that's an area that we need to be concerned about. And so I know you're working on it. I appreciated the comments you made at the Health Board, and I know you're working with RIMSA on it, but it is something that is very key to us, that we should not be put in a position where we're having to pull a truck because RIMSA is not doing what they need to do relative to paramedics. So I want to make sure we get that on the record and that we stay on top of it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like that as an agenda item?
Yes, please. Yeah, I think that's a prudent conversation as well. All right, seeing no other comments from the commissioners or the chief for future agenda items, we will close item 11 and move on to item 12. Chief.
Item 12 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. District will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
All right, Chief, thank you. Madam Clerk, I don't see anybody signed in.
I have nobody signed in, and
All
on
right.
Zoom.
Do we
looks
have
like
anybody on
nobody.
Zoom wishing to speak? Going once, twice, all right. Forever hold your peace, or until October, I guess. All right, we are adjourned, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, colleagues.